Good day, students. This is the 2014 class test for partnership that I will be doing, and the class test was out of 30 marks and 40 minutes was the time limit. The following information was extracted from the accounting records of Wind Surf Traders with the partners Wind and Surf for the year ended 30th of June 2014. Capital account for Wind is 60,000, for Surf is 80,000 rands. Current account for Wind is 8,500 and it has a credit balance, and current account for Surf is 800 rands and it has a debit balance. That means interest that will be received here in this current account of Wind will be interest expense. That means partnership will have to pay interest, and the interest here will be interest income, because by the end of last year partner Surf was owing the partnership 800 rands. Therefore interest will be interest income to partnership. However, for Surf the interest will be interest expense on that current account. Then we have drawings. Drawings is 5,500 and Surf has 7,500 of the amount of drawings. And if you see, for drawings we are not given the opening balance, because drawings at the end of the year they are closed off to current account. So now these drawings is an indication that they were withdrawals during the current year, not from the previous year. General reserve, we have 68,000 rands, and net profit for the year is 250,000 rands. So we are already given the net profit. The following must still be taken into consideration according to the partnership agreement. Surf contributed equipment with the value of 125,000 rands. The partners to the partnership during the current year. So this will be a capital contribution which will increase the capital account of partner Surf. Number 2 says the partners are entitled to salaries. Wind is entitled to a salary of 5,000 per annum. Surf is entitled to a salary of 3,000 rands per month until December. So that means the salary for Surf was 3,000 until December 2013. Remember, we are doing the books for the year 2014, the year end 2014. So now we are told that the salary for Surf was 3,000 from July of last year until December last year. That means it was 3,000 for 6 months. Therefore now we will have to say 3,000 rands times by 6. That will give us an amount of 18,000 rands salary for the first 6 months of the year. From January 2014, his salary increased to 4,000 rands per month. So now it means the salary became 4,000 from January for another 6 months until the end of the current year. Therefore now if we say 4,000 times by 6, that will give us 24,000 rands. 4,000 times by 6, yes, it's 24,000 rands. So now the total salary per annum for Surf will be 18,000 plus 24,000 rands, and that will give us an amount of 24 plus 18,000 rands. That will give us 42,000 rands. That means salary for the year for partner Surf will be 42,000 rands by the end of the current year. Then number 3, we are told that Wind earned a bonus of 20,000 rands. And number 4, we are told that the partners decided to increase the general reserve to 100,000 rands at the end of the year. Remember, general reserve had an opening balance of 68,000 rands. So now it was increased to 100,000 rands. They are telling us that. It means it went up by 32,000 rands. If you say 100,000 rands minus 68,000 rands, we get 32,000 rands. It means this is the amount that must be recorded, because it went up by 32,000 rands from 68,000 rands to 100,000 rands. Just take note of that. Then we are told under number 5 that interest is provided for the current account of the partners at 12% per annum on the opening balances. So that it means with the opening balances that we are given for current account, we must calculate interest. And I've mentioned already that for partner wind it will be interest expense, and for partner SAF it will be recorded in the partnership books as interest income. That will be the credit side of the appropriation and the debit side of the appropriation account. Number 6 says interest on drawings need to be accounted for as follows: 400 and 800 for wind and SAF respectively, and the remaining of the profit is to be shared in a ratio of 6:8. So now we are required to prepare the statement of changes in equity for the year ended 30 June 2014. So now, although we are required to do the statement, I will prefer that I will start with the appropriation account so that we have the full picture. Appropriation account, or appropriation of profit and loss. That means the distribution of profit and loss, or the allocation of profit and loss. Then after, I will do the current account for partners, current account for both partners. I'll prefer to start with the ledger accounts, then after I do the statement of changes in equity. So now let us move with that approach. So now let me go straight to my appropriation account that I want to begin with. So now appropriation account always has a net profit or a net loss. So now in this case we were given a net profit, and the net profit is the one that is on the end of the extra information given. We are told that the net profit is 250,000 rands. So now we record the net profit as 250,000 rands. Remember, when it's a profit, we record it on the credit side. When it's a loss, we record it on the debit side. Then after, the next transaction was the contribution of capital by partner SAF. Remember, capital contribution, it does not affect the appropriation account, because in the appropriation account we take into account incomes, expenses, and the profit only. Then under number 2, we are told that the partners are entitled to a salary, and the wind is entitled to a salary of 5,000 rands. So now if you say 5,000 times by 12, that will give you a salary of 60,000 rands, which will be a salary for partner SAF, for partner wind. So now I just want to show the calculations there for salary. The salary for wind is 5,000 times by 12, that will give us an amount of 60,000 rands. And the second partner is SAF. SAF has a salary of 42,000 rands. If you remember, we did show the calculations for the salary of SAF. There is 42,000 rands. That 42,000 rands was made of the two calculations, which we said that it will be 3,000 rands times by 6, and that will give us 18,000 rands. And the second portion is 4,000 times by 6, which gave us 24,000 rands, and the sum of the two is 42,000 rands. So now these are the salaries for the partners that we must account for on the debit side of the appropriation account. Remember, appropriation is the recording of the incomes and the expenses. Therefore, now we are recording the expenses in terms of the salary. Then you say current account, partner wind, and this was a salary of 60,000 rands. Current account, partner SAF, this is a salary of an amount of 42,000 rands as we have calculated it. Then after that, we have to go to the next transaction. The next transaction is number 3, where we are told that wind and a bonus of 20,000 rands. So now remember, bonus is an expense and expenses are recorded on the debit side of the appropriation account. So now we say current account, wind, and this was a bonus, and the bonus is 20,000 rands. We record that bonus on the debit side because it's what the partnership is supposed to pay at the end of the year to this partner wind. The next one is number 4, where we are told that the partners decided to increase general reserve to, take note of this, they say to 100,000 rands, not by 100,000 rands, to 100,000 rands. It means it went up by 32,000 rands. I did show the calculations here where I said we say 100,000 rands, which is the amount general reserve increased to minus the amount general reserve in were from. Therefore, now we say 100,000 rands minus 68,000 rands, and we found out that our general reserve increased by 32,000 rands. So we record general reserve at an amount of 32,000 rands on the debit side of the appropriation account, general reserve. Then after we go to the next entry, in the next entry we are told that, which is entry number 5. Entry number 5, we are told that interest is provided for the current account for partners at 12% per annum on the opening balances. So now we have to calculate 12% from the current accounts that are given. So now we have current account for both partners, which is partner wind and SAF, as at an amount of 8,500 and current account of 800. So now we are calculating the interest on the current account. Interest on current account for partner wind is having opening balance of 8,500 of the current account, which we multiply that by 12%. And the partner SAF, we have an opening balance, which is a debit balance of 800, which we multiply that by 12%. Then it will give us the amount of the interest on that current account. So the interest on the current account for partner wind will be an amount of 1,020, and for partner SAF it will be an amount of 96. So now this is interest expense to the partnership, this is interest income to the partnership. So we record this to the appropriation account on the debit side, and we record this in the appropriation account to the credit side. So now we record that in the appropriation account as I mentioned. So now we say current account, this is interest, okay, current account, partner wind, and the reason for this is interest on current account, and this is 1,020. And on the credit side we record the income to the partnership, and the income to the partnership is the current account that comes from SAF, being interest on current account, and this is an amount of 96 rands. Then from here now we can continue, because we have accounted for this requirement, which was requirement number requirement number 5. We are now going to requirement number 6. Requirement number 6 says that interest on drawings need to be accounted for as follows: 400 rands and 800 rands for wind and SAF respectively. So now we record the interest on drawings as it is given. Remember, interest on drawings is the interest that is paid on the value of goods or money withdrawn by the partners. So now the partners are paying that back to the partnership. Therefore, that becomes interest income, and incomes are recorded on the credit side of the appropriation, and expenses recorded on the debit side. So now this is income for the partnership. Therefore, now we say current account, partner wind, this is interest this is just abbreviation, interest on drawings, and this is 400. The second partner is current account. The name of the partner is SAF. You write current account and you write the name of the partner SAF. Then that will be interest on drawings, and this is an amount of 800 rands, just to say it, RW drawings. So now we have accounted for the interest on drawings, and we recorded that where it belongs on the credit side of the appropriation account. Then after, now we have to share the profit or the loss that this partnership has made after taking into account transactions that are between the partners and the partnership. Remember, in the appropriation account, just to emphasize, we only record transactions that are between the partnership and the partners. And all these transactions on the debit side plus the ones on the credit side, except the net profit, are the transactions that are between the partnership and the partners. So now if you calculate the total of your credit side, it will give you the total of 90. It will give you the total, and the credit side will be the bigger side in this exercise. So now we will have to say 250,000 rands plus 96,000 rands plus 400 rands plus 800 rands. That give us 347,200. Let us just recalculate. 250,000 rands plus 96 rands plus 400 plus 800. That gave us 251,296. 251,296. Then you say minus 60,000 rands, minus 42,000 rands, minus 20,000 rands, minus 32,000 rands, minus 1,020 rands. That gave us 96,276 rands. So the difference between the credit, the bigger side, which is credit side, and the debit side, gave us an amount of 962,000 rands, 96,276. So now I just want to write this total, just wrapping this. So now the profit that we are showing is a profit of 96,276. Then after, we have to share the profit, share of profit or profit share. So now we are sharing the profit among the two partners. Partner Wind, remember, Partner Wind will share the profit of 96,276 at the ratio of 6:14. Remember, we were told that partners share the profit in a ratio of 6:8. So now we add the 2. 6 plus 8 is 14. Therefore you say 6, which is for the first partner, divided by the total of the ratio. Then that will give us the share of profit for Partner Wind as 41,261. 41,261. Then the second partner is Partner SAF, and Partner SAF shares in a profit of 96,276 at the ratio of 8 is divided by 14. 8 divided by 14. Then that will give us the sum of 55,015 rands. 55,015 rands. So that will be the share of profit for Partner SAF. So now we can write their profit share to the debit side of the appropriation account. So now we say current account. We still don't forget to write the current account always, because this will affect the individual current accounts. Because current accounts, that's where we record the amounts that are due to the partners, and all these amounts that are on the debit side, they are due to the partners. So now any amount that is due to a partner must be recorded in the account for that partner, so that we know how much the partnership owes the partner. So now hence we must always say current account, then we write the name of the partner, of which the first partner is Wind. Then after we say profit share, which is the amount is for profit share, that will be 41,261. Then the second one is current account, partner SAF, and this is profit share, and the profit share is 55,000 rands and 15 cents. Remember, these amounts are these ones: 41,261, which is that 41,261 rands, and 55,015 rands, that 51,015 rands. So please don't be lost. Then after we continue and just balance this or closed off this ledger account. So now if you calculate the total of the debit side, it will definitely be equal to 251,296, because the difference, which was 96,276, was shared on the debit side. Then after this, we can record the current account for Wind, and current account for Wind had a credit balance, and the credit balance of the current account for Wind was given in our information as 8,500 rands. Let us see that we had a current account for partner Wind with the opening balance of 8,500 rands. Do you see there is 8,500 rands? Then after, now we record the entries that come from the appropriation account, all the entries that were due to the partner, of which the first one was a salary and a bonus. So now we record that salary, and the salary is 16,000 rands. Remember, current account increase on this side, decrease on this side. Whenever there's amount due from a partnership to a partner, is recorded on the credit side. Whenever there's amount that is due from a partner to the partnership, then that will be recorded on the debit side, except drawings. So now we record the next one is bonus, which was a transaction between the partnership and Wind, which is a bonus of 20,000 rands. So we record that 20,000 rands, and the contra entry is bonus. And the next entry was the interest on current account of 1,020, interest on current account, that is 1,020. Then after, we record the profit share of 41,261. We record the profit share of 41,261 rands. So now we have recorded all the entries that were between partner Wind and the partnership. Let me just confirm. We took into account the salary, we took into account the bonus, we took into account the interest on current account, we took into account the share of profit. All those four have been captured. So now we must record the interest on drawings, the one of 400 rands from the credit side. So now we record that to the debit side: interest on drawings, with an amount of 400 rands. So there is the interest of 400. For every credit entry, there must be a debit entry. The only entry that still must be recorded here is the drawings. Please do not forget that drawings are closed off to current account only in the context of partnership. interest on drawings is 400. Yes, so the drawings were from the given information. Drawings are given to be 5,500 for partner wind. So now we record that 5,500 on the debit side, 5,500 rands. So now we have recorded the two, then we can balance this ledger account. This ledger account can have a balance, guys, a balance brought down and a balance carried down. It's only the appropriation account that does not have an opening balance, either a closing balance, because the profit that the business has obtained is either it will reserve it or it will share it among the partners. So now when it comes to partner SAF, the bigger side will be the partner wind, the bigger side will be the credit side, and that is 130,781 rands. Then if you strike the difference between the debit side and the credit side, that will give you a balance that is carried down, balance CD, and the balance carried down will be 124,881. 124,881, and that will be 124,881. That becomes balance brought down. Then after, we have to do the next ledger account, which is the current account for the next partner SAF. We do the current account for partner SAF. Remember, the opening balance of the current account for partner SAF was a debit opening balance of 800 rands. Therefore, now we write that on the debit side. There we had 800 rands, and it was indicated that it's a debit balance. Then after we have recorded the debit balance, we record all the entries that were between the partnership and partner SAF. And one of them was a salary of 42,000 rands. Salary of 42,000 rands. You remember that from the appropriation account. So from here we've recorded 42,000 rands. Then we must record the profit share, because we don't have any other thing on the debit side. We recorded SAF. Let me just change the pen here. We recorded SAF, the salary. Then we have to record SAF, which is the profit share. Then after, we will have to record the interest on current account on the credit side and the interest on drawings of 800 on the credit side. So now let us start with the profit share, and the profit share is the amount of 55,015. We record that as profit share, or share of profit share, and the profit share is 55,015 rands. Then after, we record the interest on current account, 96 rand, and the interest on drawings, and the interest on drawings, I think, is correctly recorded as 800 rands. Yes, there we have interest on drawings as 800 rands. So now the only entry that must still be recorded on the debit side here is the drawings, which is the drawings that were made by partner SAF during the current year. And those drawings, they amounted to 7,500. There is the amount of drawings, 7,500 rands. Sorry. Then after, we can just balance our ledger account for SAF. That means we just say 42,000 rands plus 55,015 cents. And the credit side seemed to be obviously bigger than the debit side. and the total of the credit side is 97,015 cents. 97,015 cents. Then we subtract all the debit side from 97,015 cents. That will give us a balance carried down of 87,000 rands 819 cents. 87,819 cents. That will be a balance that is brought down. We bring it to the new year. Then from here now I can immediately do the statement of changes in equity. It's very important for students to understand the link between the appropriation account and the current accounts, both the current accounts or all the current accounts, because there might be more than two current accounts in the case where there are more partners. Then now we can do the statement of changes in equity. And in our statement of changes in equity, the balances that we see in the ledger accounts must also be the same balances. So the opening balance for the statement of changes in equity is on the 1st of July. 1st of July in the year 2013, which is the beginning of the year. And the capital contribution opening balance for Partner Wind was given to be 60,000 rands and 80,000 rands for SAF. So we record those balances as they are: 60,000 rands and 80,000 rands. Then the current account opening balances were also given. Opening balance for Partner Wind is 8,500 and 800 for SAF. So we record those opening balances: 8.5 and 800, 8,500 and 800. The opening balance, which was a debit opening balance of current account, must be negative. This 800 must be negative because it was a debit balance. So the debit must be shown as a negative in the statement of changes in equity. General reserve, we had 68,000 rands as the opening balance. Net profit, there will always be nothing under the net profit. Then the sum of those, which is 60,000 plus 80,000 rands plus 8,500 minus 800 plus 68,000 rands, that should give you an amount of 215,000 rands 700. 215,700. Then from here we can continue recording the next entry, and the first entry, which was from the additional information, was additional capital contribution, or was capital contribution. And the capital contribution was 125,000 rands, which was contributed by Partner SAF. 125,000 rands. Let us go and check. The first entry said SAF contributed equipment to the value of 125,000 rands to the partnership during the current year. So now that is the amount of the capital contribution that we are recording. Then after, we have to record all other transactions beginning with the salaries. Then after, we do the bonus. Then let us go straight. But however, before we start with the salary, let us start with the net profit. Net profit, we had a net profit of 250,000 rands. Remember, this 125,000 rands does not get to be recorded anywhere but under total, 125,000 rands. Then after, we record the amount of the net profit straight to the appropriation account, 250,000 rands. Remember, this appropriation that you see here, this column, is the same column as the one that you saw in the ledger account. This ledger account is the reflection of that column. So now whatever was recorded here must be recorded in that column in the statement of changes in equity. And the first entry that was recorded here was the net profit, and it was the net profit of 250,000 rands. So now we start with that once again. We don't break the rules. So we start with the net profit, then after we come to the salaries and we record all other entries as they are recorded in the ledger account. Then after this will be recorded under total 250,000 rands. Then after we record salaries, and salaries, they are recorded in the appropriation account and in the current account only. You have seen that in the ledger account. Salaries went to the appropriation account on the debit side. Here we had all the salaries, and it was 60,000 rands and 42,000 rands. Then after we recorded them in the individual current account. So now it means we must apply the same rule. There we had an amount of the salary, and again we had an amount of the salary as 42,000 rands in the current accounts. So the rule has not changed. We record the salary for wind, of which the salary for wind is 60,000 rands. We record that 60,000 rands and 42,000 rands for partner SAF. And the total of the two will give us an amount of 102,000 rands. So we just record both of them combined. Please don't separate them. And that must be negative, as I did mention that all the entries that are recorded on the debit side of the appropriation account must be recorded as negative in the column for appropriation account in the statement of changes in equity. All the entries that you see here on the debit side, they must be recorded, or they are recorded as negative in the appropriation column. However, with exception of current account, where the opening balances are in different signs, and all the entries that were on the credit side here must be recorded as positive in the current account, sorry, in the appropriation account in the statement of changes in equity, in the appropriation column in the statement of changes in equity. So now we have accounted for salaries, and after salaries there was a bonus which was due to only partner wind. The bonus was only due to partner wind, and that bonus was 20,000 rands. Let us check if did we account for that bonus. Yes, there was a bonus which was due to wind. There was the bonus of 20,000 rands, and there was an instruction regarding the bonus, or an adjustment, where we were told that there is a bonus of 20,000 rands that is due to partner wind. There was entry number 3. So now we are recording according to the information that we have. Then after, we can straightly record general reserve. We can straightly record general reserve, not forgetting that a certain portion was reserve. General reserve, and the amount of general reserve will go to the column of general reserve as 32,000 rands, and we take that from the appropriation. That means we take it from the profit of the business, we transfer it to the reserve account. So now we have recorded that. That means under total there will be nothing. Okay, the bonus is recorded. Let me just complete the bonus. I just forgot that part. The bonus goes straight as negative in the appropriation account, 20,000 rands. Then under total there is nothing. So the bonus is recorded under wind and also recorded under the appropriation, and nothing under total. General reserve, we have accounted for that. Then the next entry will be the interest on the current account. and the interest on the current account is recorded on the debit side for partner Wind and on the credit side for partner SAF as 96 rands. So now we have to account for that interest on current account. Then we say interest on current account, and that will be positive 1020 and negative 96 rands. Then that will go again to the appropriation account. Remember, in the appropriation account we only record the difference of 924 rands as negative. Why? Is because the partnership at the end of the year was supposed to pay 1020 rands. However, it was also supposed to receive 96 rands. So now if we strike the difference between the two, the net will be a net supposed to be pay amount of 924 rands. So now hence we record that as a negative because the partnership will be paying the difference, or is supposed to be paying the difference. So now if you see, if you add these two amounts, they give you negative 1020. So if you subtract that from 1020, you get 0 under the total. Then after now we have accounted for the interest on current account, then we must account for the interest on drawings. Interest on drawings. The interest on drawings will be negative in the current account for partners, and we were told that interest on drawings is 400 and 800 respectively, and the sum of the two, remember, it is income to the partnership. So now whenever partnership is to receive money, that will be positive in the appropriation account, and that will give us no amount under the total. Then after we record once again the share of the profit, we record the share of the profit, and the profit share we calculated the profit share. So now remember, in this case, if you are not required to do, of which you will normally not be required to do appropriation in the statement at the same time because it's the repetition. If you are not required to do the appropriation account and the current accounts, but you are required straight just to do the statement of changes in equity, which is the normal case. So now you just have to say under the total for under the current account, under the appropriation account, you just have to say the net profit of 250 minus 102,000 rands of the total of salaries, minus 20,000 rands of the bonus, minus 32,000 rands of the transfer to general reserve, minus 924 of the difference on the interest on current account. Then you plus the interest on drawings. All the amounts that are positive you add, and all the amounts that are negative you subtract. It means the only two amounts that you'll be adding, it will be 250,000 rands and 1,200, and you subtract all other amounts. Therefore now that should give you the same amount that you got as the profit share when you were doing the ledger account for the statement of for the appropriation account. So now you should get the same amount as 96,276, and I'm getting exactly the same amount. So now that confirms that we did our ledger account very accurate. So that gives me an amount of 96,276. This must be recorded as a negative here. I'll just explain. Remember, it's negative because we are the partnership is taking all the profit and is giving the profit to the partners. So now hence it is negative in the appropriation account. Then now we can record the profit share for each partner, and partner Wind had a profit share of 41,261, and partner Wind had a profit share of 55,015 cents. And if you add the two amounts, they give you 96,276. And that amount is taken from the profit of the business, is shared to the partners or transferred to the current account of the partners, which it will at the end of the day be paid to partners. Then after, we can just account for drawings. Remember, drawings do not affect appropriation account. So now, even if you record drawings after the profit share or before the profit share, still they do not affect the appropriation account. If you remember, in the ledger account, we did not record drawings in the appropriation account because drawings are not part and parcel of the incomes and the expenses. Drawings is just equity. So now, hence, it will just reduce what the partner can claim from the business. That means the current account. So now, drawings will only affect the current account of individual partners. As you have seen that we recorded drawings on the debit side. And remember, on the debit side, the current account is decreasing. On the credit side, the current account is increasing. So now, similarly with the second current account, we did the same thing, where we recorded drawings on the debit side as 7,500, reducing the current account of this partner, which is decreasing on the debit side, increasing on the credit side. So now it means drawings once again must be recorded in the current account of individual partners. And the drawings for these partners was 5,500 and 7,500. 5,500 and 7,500. All these entries must be negative. Appropriation column is not affected because appropriation is the same as the ledger account. That's where we record incomes and expenses. And drawings is not an income, either an expense, but it's just equity entry. So now the total of the two will give us 13,000 rands, and this will be negative 13,000 rands under the total. Then from here, now we have recorded all the entries that were supposed to be recorded. Then now under the total here, there will be 0 under the balance, and under the total column of the total, we will have 577,000 rands, 700 rand, 577. Let me just move a little bit due to space. 577,700. Then we will have 100,000 rands here. If you calculate and you say minus 800 plus 42,000 rands minus 96 minus 800 plus 55,015 minus 7,500, that gives me an amount of 87,000 rands 819. This is an indication that our ledger account was correct, because I think in the current account we got the same. Yes, there we go, 87,819. So it means our current account was accurately recorded. And once again, we do the second ledger account or total for the current account. If you say 8,500 plus 60,000 rands plus 20,000 rands plus 1,020 minus 400 plus 41,261 minus 5,500, that gives us the total as we have seen that in the current account, and that gives me the sum of 124,881 rands. Therefore, now I can totalize my capital accounts, and my capital account is 205,000 rands, and my capital account for the first partner is still 60,000 rands. So now the balance is at the end of the year, on the 30th of June in the year 2014. So now with that, I am fine. Thank you, guys. I'm done with this exercise. I hope you have enjoyed.